In life, it's important to have an address. An address is a sign of identity. I know where I live. I have an address. I know where I'm going. And as well, an address as a way of traveling to a destination. If I don't have an address, things are really haphazard. When I have an address, it creates clarity. It gives us a sense of literally direction. I know where I'm going. And it lessens doubt. It lessens doubt. It lessens being confused. Now, when we go on a journey somewhere, even if it's a journey just to chill, usually we know where we are. We know where we are. So if I'm going to go for a walk in the park, I'm going for a walk in the park. The park's the address. And more specifically, if I want to get to a particular destination, if I don't have the address, it's a lot more difficult. It's really simple to recognize that, wouldn't you say? So let me now take that and just build on it. That in life, to live, to have a good life, to have a meaningful life, we as well have to have addresses. And the issue is today, so many people are living, and the addresses that they are heading towards are not necessarily where they want to go. And the only reason they don't know that is because they didn't think about it as deeply or as profoundly as they could have, as they should have, as they would like to. They've never had the ability, or they haven't had yet the ability to speak about it. And what we're suggesting here is as following. That we have to ask ourselves the question, and this revolves around the question that we've asked many, many times. What is more desirable for us to living a well-lived life? To live like a child or to live like an adult? And what have we responded? Well, actually, like a child. A child, their address is happiness. They want to have happiness. They want to have balance. And an adult, funny creatures that we are, sometimes we would rather be right and miserable. So the address is being right and being miserable at the expense of being happy and living a well-lived life. So if we don't consciously, cognitively choose and decide the address that we are heading towards, usually our subconscious will, or somebody else will. If we don't take the reins of our lives, somebody else will. And who says they're going to do a better job? Now, if you have a mentor that loves you and that trusts you and that knows you, yeah, you could afford to say, Rebbe, what's my address? My master, what's my address? However, for most people, we have to sit and figure out what that address should be from a micro perspective or a macro perspective. So, for example, if it's a week-long address. So for this week, my address is playfulness. So what's the direction I need to go in to get to the address of playfulness? I open up my map and I look at my map, and the roads in order to get to playfulness are hanging out with my friends, doing something fun, doing something a little bit childish. Or if it's an address of developing deeper, meaningful relationships. So the roads that I'll need to travel upon in order to get to that address is continuity in speaking to people, being vulnerable, working and developing on communicating to my friends. Now this is something incredibly, incredibly important. Find the address, have it down clear. If it's the address of joyfulness, so have events, have the road signs that you know that you need to travel to get to joyfulness. Again, it could be hanging out with friends, playing music and chilling, going to eat the food that you like. And even from a micro perspective, I was speaking to one of the Chevra yesterday, and it turned out, unfortunately, for the last few weeks, they've had a very, very difficult time. And they couldn't get out of bed, and it's been really miserable for them. And the suggestion that we shared was as following. That you can ask yourself, what's my next action? What's my next action? And my next action, you answer with an address. So my next action after I've woken up is to say Maida Ani. My next action is to say Maida Ani. And then you say Maida Ani. My next action is to place my feet on the floor. And you place your feet on the floor. What's my next action? My next action is to go and wash my hands. What's my next action? My next action is to go and wash my face. So each time you can even ask from a micro perspective, what's my next action? And then the address. And slowly, slowly we build ourselves. We feel good. We feel alive. So I give us all a blessing that we know our addresses. And as well, I want to remind all of us that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, Rabbi Gerzi here in Eretz Yisrael adores you, trusts you, believes in you. And Be'ezras Hashem, whatever you're doing, to remember that. I care for you. You should go from strength to strength. Have a wonderful week, Tzadikim.